A very good day to you, wherever you are around the world, and thank you for joining us on the program People, Politics and Power. I am Imoni Amarere. Following the invasion of Ukraine by Russia and the outbreak of war about 12 days ago, several, if not all countries, have been evacuating their citizens from Ukraine. Nigeria has not been left out. After some unexpected delays, the Nigerian government approved $8.5 million for the evacuation of 5,000 Nigerians from Ukraine, most of them students. Using two private airlines, about 1,112 of the stranded Nigerians have so far been evacuated back home after 4 trips. The 5th airlift is expected in the country later this Monday. But the process has not been all smooth sailing. First, the affected Nigerians had to make their way out of war-torn Ukraine to neighboring countries like Poland, Hungary, Romania, and Latvia to take advantage of the government's initiative. But from reports received so far, this has been a rather traumatic ordeal for many Africans, including Nigerians, both inside Ukraine and at the borders of the neighboring countries. We have seen some very distressing and disturbing videos of some young Nigerians, even children, who have had to endure several days of extreme cold and hunger at train stations and at border crossings before making it through.
If this war ends, would you love to go back to Ukraine to further your studies?
No.
Why?
Because the whole trauma is still there. And how sure are we that even if the war ends, Ukraine is still going to be the same Ukraine that we knew?
Once we left, we went to the Syrian border, the border bordering Ukraine and Romania, and from there we were able to cross, but it was terrible. We walked, we took a bus from Ternopil to the border, but the border there was this kind of long queue of cars and they were not moving. So we had to trek through the cars. Then we stood at the border for we got there 3 p.m. and we passed by 3 a.m. and we were standing up, we didn't sit down for once.
That's so good, and government is on top of it.
Okay. So the strategy we are looking at is, since they are all Europe and very close to each other, we'll probably take a flight that can hop from one place to the other. But that will not be tonight, because we are still expecting the flight from Hungary.
Even now, many more are still stranded at various locations in that part of Europe, waiting to be airlifted home to Nigeria. On the program today, we shall be reliving some of those experiences with some of the returnee Nigerians, officials of Nigerians in the diaspora organization NIDO, in one of the neighboring countries with Ukraine, who have been assisting some of the affected persons to lighten the burden of being war refugees. We shall also be talking to a medical personnel on how the ordeals of these individuals involved could possibly impact them moving forward. Could the situation have been helped by a more proactive action by the government, even before the actual breakout of war, especially as the warning signals were quite obvious for all to see? Why did many of the affected persons not also leave Ukraine before it almost became too late? What further support can be offered to these category of Nigerians, both by governments and other non-state actors? We shall explore all of these, and we will be joined from across Europe and even our correspondent who is right now at the border between Ukraine and Poland will also be joining us to give us a situation report and relive the experiences of these Nigerians. Stay with us. We'll be right back after now. All right, thank you so much for staying with us. Let's get to meet our guests who are scattered all over Europe and right here in Nigeria. First, let's get to meet Dr. Taiwo Obindo. Dr. Obindo is the president, Association of Psychiatrists in Nigeria. He's joining us from his base in Jos, the Plateau State capital. Thank you, Dr. Obindo, for finding time to join us. Also joining us is Enebechi Macaulay Ebuka. Mr. Ebuka is the vice chairman, Nigerians in Diaspora NIDO, in the Hungary chapter. That is the chapter of NIDO in Hungary. Mr. Ebuka, thank you for joining us.
Oh, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
All right, let's also meet Ezeogidi Lovina Chioma, who is the CEO and legal rep of Mobemila Agency and Services in Hungary. We're also joined by Ejabukwa Kenechukwu Kennedy. He's also joining us. He's a student of Politava State Medical School in Ukraine. Also joining us is Ilerioluwa Olutimilehin. He's at the National Technical University in Kharkiv Polytechnic Institute in Ukraine. We're also joined by Egonu Jacinta Ozioma, who is also of Poltava State Medical School in Ukraine. And right here, back in Nigeria, we're joined by Jacob Jahazier. He's of Kyiv Medical University, one of those who was airlifted back to Nigeria very recently, and he's joining us from Gombe. And last but not the least is our own correspondent, Tunde Alabi. Tunde is right now at the Medica border, one of the many borders between Ukraine and Poland. Today, thank you so much for joining us. Let's get to Ukraine-Poland border, where Tunde Alabi, our correspondent, is right there now, Medica border between Poland and Ukraine. Tunde, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mark. It's a pleasure joining you. I'm actually on my way to Medica now. As you can see, I'm in a bus, and it's about 5 hours, 5 to 6 hours journey from Warsaw to Medica. And I left Warsaw about past 12 this afternoon. So I'm still on the road. I'm still on the road. I'm still like 4 hours away from Medica border. This is about 5 to 6 hours. So I'm still on the road. I'm in a bus.
What is the situation at the moment in Warsaw, where you were before embarking on this journey, with Nigerians who have been able to make it across the border from Ukraine into Poland?
Right, I didn't get the last question, but if I get you very well, you're asking about the situations with Nigerians that are crossing the border. Yes, they keep crossing the border every day. 2 days ago, some arrived Poland, and they were received by the Nigerian embassy in Poland, and some even arrived today. They're being processed to be put in a hotel. So they keep coming in, but the process has been very tedious. It's been very tough for Nigerians crossing the border. They faced a lot of challenges crossing the border. Some have had to walk 3 days. Some have had to walk 48 hours, no food, no water, in a freezing weather, trying to get to the border. And when they finally make it to the border, either the Medica border or any other border into Poland, they face another challenge. The first challenge will be that They will have to wait for the women and children to cross. They will have to wait for Ukrainians and other Europeans to cross before they consider Africans to cross. Many have said this is racism. We understand this is war situation. We understand that women and children first, but why do you give priority to Ukrainian boys, Ukrainian men? Why do you give priority to other European citizens? And you say until they cross, those of you from Africa will not cross the border. It's been some tough time for them. Eventually, they have always been able to cross the border to Poland after a very, very long time. But it's been a very tedious journey. And what we're trying to do now is to actually, I was at one of the borders 2 days ago, so I'm going to Mexico now to really capture the situation. And where possible and it is safe, we'll see if we can enter Ukraine and possibly get to what is going on there.
Now, what is the explanation for the discriminatory treatment given to blacks, to Africans generally? Now, some explanation have been that most of the Africans and most of the Nigerians attempting to cross do not have documents, do not have regular traveling documents to make this crossover from Ukraine into Poland or into Romania or into Hungary or any of the other countries. Whereas these other persons from Europe belong to the European Union, and so they have an advantage. Is that the case, or is there an actual instance of discrimination against Africans?
I'm trying to get the audio, but is filtering in a bit. You're talking about the undocumented immigrants. And so we have two types of people here. We have the strictly undocumented immigrants trying to cross the border. These undocumented immigrants are immigrants who do not have passports, who probably have overstayed and are trying to make a living in Ukraine. And we have students in Ukraine, Nigerian students or African students in Ukraine, who because of the pressure of the war, left their passport and everything behind. They couldn't wait to pick their passport because the situation, right, really is students are leaving without picking anything. So we have those that have actually are really, really illegal, and we have students who do not have passport. A number of these students have been able to cross over to Poland, and the Nigerian mission in Poland is trying to process their passport for them. But it is a big challenge. Once you get to the border and you say you have no passport, but ideally under international convention, this is a war situation. The issue of citizenship, the issue of either you have passport or you don't have passport should not occur because we are in a war situation. So under international convention, such requirements are broken down. Such requirements are not followed strictly because we are in a war situation. The purpose, the intention of the international convention is to get everybody to safety, to get everybody through the humanitarian corridor to where they are safe, far away from the war. So under international convention, the identity of people that are fleeing from war does not really count. But it does appear to us that in Ukraine, they face some challenges. They will eventually cross. Most of them have eventually crossed, for those that have insisted. But the issue of status, either legality or illegal, documented or undocumented status, does not really count under international law, as we assume. And so it's not really been an issue. The general level of allowing them to cross or not cross is at the instance of the Ukrainian officials that are mounting the border. At the Polish end, or at the Hungarian end, or at the Romania end, there's no serious problem. The main problem is at the Ukrainian end. The Ukrainian officials are making it difficult for people that are fleeing the war, that are not Ukrainian, especially those from Africa, to cross with some ease. And I think this has to do with bilateral relationship and discussion between the host, between the embassies at the, for instance, let's take for instance now the relationship between the Nigerian embassy in Poland and the Ukrainian embassy in Poland. The embassy in Poland could actually reach out. The Nigerian embassy in Poland could actually reach out to the Ukrainian embassy in Poland to say, look, as nationals are at the border and your people are giving them problems. Under international convention, we are in a wartime. They should have access to cross to Poland without any problem, as long as Poland is willing and ready to receive them. So it's a matter of communication, bilateral diplomatic communication between these two countries. And the last time I spoke with the Nigerian ambassador to Poland, he said to me, that was yesterday, that the Nigerian Foreign Ministry Minister of Foreign Affairs is talking with his counterparts in Ukraine, and then they are working out modalities to ensure easy access of Nigerians that are trying to cross the border. But the issue of documentation in wartime does not really occur here. But we are having a situation where the other side, the Ukrainian officials, are making things a little bit hard for the people that are trying to cross.
All right, Tunde, thank you so much. We wish you a safe trip to the Medica border. But just before you go, do we have an idea of how many Nigerians have successfully crossed from Ukraine into Poland at this point in time?
Mark, you have actually asked a very touchy question there. I tell you, several numbers have been given by the Nigerian government. I've heard people say 2,700 and something, so number have been given. But I tell you, no one has successfully given us any number of people that have been successfully evacuated. I tried unsuccessfully to confirm from the ambassador here to say, look, tell me how many people have been evacuated, but nothing, no specific number is coming up. Look, until on Friday, the aircraft that left Abuja, that left Warsaw on Friday, which I think is the only aircraft that has gone so far from Poland, will only take, I think, about 180, only has about 180 capacity to carry people. So if you say 300 and something people came to Nigeria, how did they come to Nigeria when the aircraft will take about 180 or 183? Ask Airpeace, what is the seating capacity of the aircraft that went to Poland? It's the only aircraft that has come to Poland. And then I keep hearing people say there are 300 and 400 and something people that have crossed. How? Nobody is able to give us specific number. We can't get any specific number of people that have actually come to Nigeria. I've tried to make... No, now, this is a problem, Mark. Now, I asked from reliable source, and they said to me, the problem they're having now is the figure being given by the Ukrainian, at the Ukrainian side, that the Ukrainian officials are saying 2,000 Nigerians have been allowed to cross the Ukrainian border to Poland. And Nigerian embassy in Poland is saying, look, we do not have evidence that 2,000 Nigerians have crossed the border. How did you get 2,000 Nigerians that have crossed the border? So there is this confusion, as conflicting number as to people from the Ukrainian side. They are either inflating the figure. They say, look, we have allowed 2,000 Nigerians to cross the border. And the Nigerian side in Poland say, we have not received 2,000 Nigerians. Can we have full number? And then here in Poland, they were saying how many people have been hosted. Now let's break this down. The Nigerian embassy in Poland has done very well. It has been awesome. It has done absolutely. It has been able to redeem the image of Nigeria here in Poland by hosting these students, hosting those that are fleeing the war, putting them in very good hotels, giving them food, breakfast and dinner. So the Nigerian embassy in Poland has done very, I give it to them. But where we are, many people are you hosting? You cannot give me specific number of people that you are hosting on a daily basis in a hotel. You cannot give me specific number of people that you're putting on the aircraft. And but back home in Nigeria, the Nigerian government keeps saying 500 people, 700 people, 700 people. Where do these numbers come from? And this is where we have difficulty now. And so I cannot tell you how many people have actually crossed either from Poland to Ukraine. The Ukrainian officials are saying 2,000. The Nigerian embassy in Poland is saying we do not have 2,000 people that have crossed. The Nigerian government is saying This is number of people that have caught. And what do we have evidence? The aircraft that left Warsaw will only take 183 people.
All right,
That's the only
Tunde, we hope that by the time you get to the border, you might be able to give us some better statistics than we are getting right now, either from the embassy or from the Ukrainian side. Of course, there is also consular services at the Ukrainian side of the border, Nigerian consular services. By the time you get there, you might be able to find out whether there are other unofficial routes through which some Nigerians have been able to cross. Thank you so much, Tunde Alabi, our correspondent, who is right there in Warsaw. He's making his way to the Medica border with Ukraine. Thank you so much. All right, let's see if we can link up with Enebechi Makole Ebuka, who is Vice Chairman, Nigerians in Diaspora, NIDO, the Hungary chapter. Enebechi Ebuka Makole, can you hear us?
Yes, of course. Can you hear me?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We understand that NIDO has been very instrumental in helping to host and provide some welfare for some of the Nigerians who have been able to make it out of Ukraine. Is this correct?
Yes, of course. We have been doing our best within our limited capacity to ensure that those that have successfully crossed the border to Hungary, they have been given a place to stay, shelter, and we have been trying to give them food, let me say since Monday, which they started coming in here.
Have you been working closely with, say, the Nigerian embassy in Hungary on this?
Okay, so first of all, for the people watching, NIDO means Nigerians in Diaspora Organization. So NIDO is an independent organization with no affiliation with the embassy or the Hungarian or the Nigerian government. So as an organization which also represents Nigeria, yes, in some cases we can collaborate with the embassy. Well, in this particular incident, it's a humanitarian crisis. So I can say that we share information with the embassy. We get information from them. We also give them information we have, but we totally work independently. The embassy handles the evacuation issues, handles their own affairs, while we also handle our own affairs.
So what category of Nigerians have you been assisting, and how many so far have you had encounter with?
Okay, so first let me give a brief history of what's been going on. So when the crisis started, people started moving to Poland at first, but we heard that Poland was giving some issues which the students, when they heard that Hungarian government have created this a safer and a peaceful crossing. So I think most of them crossed to Hungary. So which also made it a bit of difficult for us because we receive minimum 100 or more than 100 a day. And as they're coming in, we go to the border, we try to take some to Debrecen or bring some of them that are coming directly to Budapest because Hungarian government so far did a lot of favors, a lot of things that even me, I was surprised that they were that kind and helpful. So here, once they are in Budapest, we try to locate them because we created different WhatsApp groups and Telegram groups where they mention their demands or what they want. Then we try to locate the places where they are. We get them food. We talk to them, ask them what they need. Some of them that need medical assistance, we help them in providing this medical assistance. So in the times of numbers of people that were kind of assisted, I think it will be very difficult at this moment for us to ascertain the number of people we assisted because me and my executives, sometimes we just walking on the street, you see cluster of Nigerian students, which probably they're looking for somewhere to stay or what to eat. So the help just comes. So we wouldn't have that time to make that documentation or to say this is the exact number of people who have helped. We also have our representative in Debrecen, who most times when she's walking on the street, she sees some Nigerians, she just take them to her house. Then why she start providing, looking for where to keep them. So it's actually difficult to count how many people have assisted or to have this record.
All right, Mr. Abuka, thank you so much, and thank you for all the work that you are doing on behalf of Nigeria, for Nigerians in Hungary. We do appreciate, but please stay with us there. Let's see if we can cross over very quickly to Evacuees Lovina Chioma, who is a CEO and legal representative of Ngbemila Agency Services, also in Hungary. And to quickly ask Lovina, what services, exact services have you and your organization been offering to Nigerians who have found their way into Hungary?
Okay, good day. My name is Mrs. Choma Lovina Evacuees. Like you said, I am the CEO and legal representative of Ngbemila Agency and Services BT Hungary. And my company is registered here in Hungary many years ago. And we're into admission and visa processing. We admit to different countries in Europe, but I live here in Hungary with my family. We are not only agents to schools in Hungary and some other European countries, we also provide guardianship. So these young students that are arriving from Nigeria, I try my best to guide them, take them in as my own children and stand for them, help them with registration, help them with residence permit application, and so many other services. Anytime my students are coming into Hungary, I'm always at the airport to receive them. I receive them right from the airport. I bring them home. I make things easier for the students. So when this whole war started, I work with the NIDO Hungary. I am not part of NIDO executive, but I am also, I don't know if I should say that I worked also based on humanitarian, ground. So I was called in because I was always in contact with them for anything, anytime they need help and all that. So they called me to please assist. And due to the fact that I have a very large home in my home in Debrecen, so I've been the one receiving all the students coming in through Debrecen. Most times, me and Macaulay, we also go to the border. We have been to different borders to receive students, especially the ones that that have problem with documentations. For most of them, we're not able to get in here with passport and some other documents that are needed for them to cross the border. So it makes it difficult for them to cross. And anytime we have information like this, we always have to be at the border to be able to help, talk to the police and, present ourselves and make things easier for them. So far, I have my record actually, because anybody I received or the ones that lived in my house, because I remember the first 3 days, I was actually sleeping on the floor of my house because I need to give them space to be able to, relax. And after being on the road for like 4 days, 5 days, me and my children, we actually sleep on the floor just for them to have the bed. I live in a 4-bedroom and a large living room, but my house was always filled up. Sometimes I have 20, 30 people in my house, so we try to do this. I try to, I understand that we it could happen to anybody, and we are Nigerians. We are here to see each other. I have my students in Ukraine because I represent a good number of schools in Ukraine, in which I successfully moved all my students together when the thing was about starting. So I tried to merge all of them together, and all of them came in the same day. I was happy to receive my students. But nevertheless, we're talking about human life. So I was also able to accommodate so many students that came, even some of the families that came with children. I remember going to the train station at 1 a.m. to pick a family of 4 months baby and 6 months baby, 2 different families. It was a very traumatic situation.
All right.
I have to do this. I was always on the road. Mr. Macaulay and the president of NIDO Hungary, we're always together. Either we're in they're always in Debrecen also to help, and because it was becoming too much for me, I have to always be on the kitchen, making sure they eat something and all that. So believe me, if you hear the experience, you will know that they went through a lot. I shed tears, believe me.
Thank you so much
it
for
breaks my heart.
all your efforts, Mrs. Ezeogidi Lovina Chioma. I'm sure that Nigeria and the Nigerian government will be very appreciative of all that you have been doing for even people that you do not know. Let's see if Egonu Jacinta Ozioma, who is at Poltava State Medical School in Ukraine. Are you there, Egonu Jacinta?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jacinta Ozioma.
Good.
I'm a nursing student in Poltava.
Yes.
So during this war, honestly speaking, I never knew that I would experience this kind of thing in my life. When it started, I was so scared because each time I contact my agent, which is Madam Chioma, she always give me courage that she's going to do something about it. So for like 1 week, we are not able to sleep. We have been always awake because they told us that we have to put our ears when we hear siren so that we can go to the bunker. But before that, she called me on Saturday morning that they are making arrangements to bring students down to Hungary. So I was so excited. So we started packing our bags to move. Then on our way coming, we had a bomb blast in our city, which is the center in Poltava. So I was able to make it to enter the bus and move on. But coming to Hungary, it was not an easy journey, honestly speaking, because I saw a lot on the road. So many people were dying as we are going, those that could not make it. Some fell sick, and we had so many people that was hungry because there was no food, could not bathe for like 4 days on the road. But each time I call her and tell her that this is what we are experiencing, she keep giving us courage that we can make it, that once we are here, she's going to take good care of us. And actually, she's doing that. So since I arrived, she has been taking good care of us. In fact, she's a mother to us here. She has done so much for us, all the students. When I arrived, I saw about 50 students in her house. I was like, wow, how is she going to take care of everybody? But she did a lot.
How long is the journey from Kharkiv to Hungary?
People that are calling, even most of us, there was no way to sleep. She have to, she and her family have to lie down on the floor to make sure that we are comfortable. So those that could not get space, some of them slept in the toilet to rest their head. So, but we thank God for everything, and some of them have gotten a place to stay. But for me, I'm still in her house right now since I arrived. And she has been doing wonderful things to us.
Are you planning on being evacuated from Hungary back to Nigeria?
I've not seen an agent that. She's too wonderful. I'm grateful for what she has done.
Jacinta, I asked, are you planning on being evacuated from Hungary back home to Nigeria?
No, actually, I want to study here in Hungary. So, and since then, she has been working on it to make sure that things go on with it.
So, you are thinking of an alternative institution in Hungary?
Yes, sir.
And how many more of your colleagues are in that frame of mind? Or are there some who would rather come back home? Because the Nigerian government is saying, come back home, be documented, and then we can find admissions for you in other European countries.
And there are other people here, but what she's doing, she's actually on it to make sure that things are fine with us.
All right, Jacinta, thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate your strength in carrying on in spite of the trauma that the war has inflicted, as it were, on you and your colleagues. Thank you so much, Jacinta Egonu Ozioma. She is of the Poltava State Medical School in Ukraine. Well, let's take a short break. When we return, we will see whether or not we are able to connect with Jacob Jahaziel, who is of the Kyiv Medical University but has just returned to Nigeria. And of course, we'll be linking up with Dr. Taiwo Obindo, who is the president, Association of Psychiatrists in Nigeria. All right, welcome back. Let's cross over now to Gombe, I think. Yes, Gombe State, where Jacob Jahaziel, who is a student of Kyiv Medical Universities and one of those that returned to Nigeria in recent days. In fact, he got into Nigeria, I think, on Saturday night. Mr. Jahaziel, how are you feeling today?
Sorry?
How are you feeling today? Welcome back to Nigeria.
I am very well, thank you. How are you?
Great. So, would you tell us your experience in Ukraine and getting to be airlifted back into Nigeria?
Okay. Actually, it was more like a military training, so to say. It wasn't funny, and it was survival of the fittest. You know, it was like a joke. It began like a rumor. We are told that the Russians will invade on a particular date, and it did not happen. So, but by that time, people were already tensed. So, but on the 24th of February, we woke up to the sound of guns and bombs all over the place. But initially, I had wanted to stay behind because I wasn't sure of what next to do. But friends from Ukraine and friends back in Nigeria, you know, were on my neck. Go, go. I remember one of my friends by name Igor told me that I should go. It is not my problem. It is not my war. It is theirs. So I left Kiev because I study in Kiev. When we landed, the troops were approaching the capital city. So we left, and the journey was kind of different one entirely, because we stood hours in the train. We couldn't find anywhere to sleep. You know, somebody like me, I haven't taken my bath like in almost a week, because I left Kiev on the 27th of February. And the day I had my first bath after that experience was on the, I think was last week Thursday night, last week Thursday. So, well, I can say that I am lucky, because it was so unfortunate that some people lost their life along the way. And even as we speak, others are still stuck in there. But in a nutshell, the whole thing wasn't a pleasant one. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, Jacob.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So in a nutshell, the whole experience wasn't a very good one, and I don't wish anybody, be it my friend or enemy, to pass through such experience, really.
Did you consider moving on to another country, a neighboring country, and staying on there? Or did you just decide that you should come back to Nigeria?
Yes. Actually, we were able to scale from, because like I said, I was in Kiev, and from Kiev, I traveled down to Lviv with some friends of mine, and from there, we lost our path. Actually, some of them traveled to Poland. To Hungary. While I went to Poland. So while in Poland, we were told that we had 15 days to leave the country, and by implication, we either go to our native country, or we must return to Ukraine. So it was a big problem, but some of them, like the people whom we came with, most of them have traveled out of the country, like from Poland to a different country, like Germany, Spain, and London. Personally, I had the plan to come home in July, which because of this problem now, it wasn't feasible. So I felt, okay, this is the time for me to come home, because I have been away for almost 5 years. So I thought there will be, there will be no any other place for me to go at this moment in time than to come home. Yes, so the thought of going to a different country actually wasn't on my mind. All I was thinking about was to come home. Yes.
Welcome back home, Jacob. Welcome back home.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Well done. Let's cross over now to Jos, where we'll meet with Dr. Taiwo Bindo. He's the President, Association of Psychiatrists in Nigeria. He's been watching and listening to everyone. And I'd like to add, Dr. Bindo, what this means for these young Nigerians who have gone through this ordeal, this trauma. Most of them, I assume, have never ever seen or experienced war. And here they are, students seeking education face-to-face with war.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. When people go through this kind of traumatic experience, quite beyond the normal stresses of life, any psychological illness can actually occur. Since they just from the experiences of those who have spoken, hearing gunshots, hearing bombs, they saw corpses on the floor, on the ground. Some of their colleagues who are also involved in this. We are sure that likely post-traumatic stress disorder and anxiety disorder is one of the major issues that will come up. Depression can also follow, and other form of obsessive compulsive disorder can also follow. But more importantly, post-traumatic stress disorder is one of the major ones that can occur. And these will mean affecting them such that they find it difficult even to rest and to sleep. They re-experience this event, and it keeps on recurring to them. Even in their dreams, they have nightmares. Some are hypervigilant. They are not able to calm down. Their BP, their pulse rates are all up. And some of them will actually avoid thinking or talking about this event or these situations. So these could occur, and we call them post-traumatic stress disorder. It could affect any of them. And as an association, we are ready to offer one of the foremost measure to attend to them is to offer them psychological first aid. And this psychological first aid is a humane way of responding to all their anxieties, allowing them to talk at their own pace, at their own level without forcing them, asking them about their needs, and making sure that whatever they need are easily met. They need water, they need shelter, they need food. Those are met. In fact, the fact that they even have difficulty crossing over, running away, even to safety, is a major challenge. And therefore, they re-experience the event, they are hypervigilant, and of course, they have they avoid talking or discussing this. And therefore, psychological first aid is what should be offered them. Amongst them, after this the first aid, some of them may not have further event. Acute stress disorders, obsessive compulsive disorders, depression can also come in. And therefore, one of the things that we need to do is to counsel them. Some of them, beyond the first aid, they need counseling. And also, some of them may actually need treatment. Because if significant events like this happen, which is traumatic to anyone, it will need the attention of the psychologist or the psychiatrist.
Now, you notice that what has happened so far is that the Nigerian government has provided the services of lifting them back into Nigeria and almost immediately sending them off to their various states and to their various homes with a token of $100. Do you think that there could have been more the government should have done before sending them off? You have talked about counseling and all of that. Should that have
the
happened
network is
before?
quite poor. But if I got to what you were saying, what should be done immediately they arrive?
You are correct, yes.
The first thing is to have the psychological first aid. attending to them and allaying their fears. That's one humane way of assuaging some of the anxieties that they may be facing. And if they need counseling, we also should offer them. They should even allow them go home directly. They should have been seen. Arrangements should have been made so that they receive that psychological first aid. And those that are identified that the level of anxiety is higher, they may need further treatment, like counseling, or even have further treatment, medication, and other psychotherapeutic intervention.
So you would suggest, Dr. Obindo, that for those who are yet to be brought back in, when they do come in, this process should be followed, where we may have made mistakes with the first four about 1,112 individuals that have been brought in and dispatched to their various homes. For those coming now, you would suggest that they should get what you are now recommending.
Sorry, can you say that again?
I said, would you recommend that the government should offer the kind of services that you have recommended now to those who are yet to come when they do arrive?
Yeah, the network is quite bad. I didn't get you very well. Yeah, but government has done well in bringing them over, evacuating them, but also they must make arrangements for their psychological well-being. Beyond the bringing them over and taking them away from the source of the stressor, they also need some psychological input. And the Association of Psychiatrists in Nigeria and other stakeholders are ready to offer to these Nigerians who have been traumatized. In fact, listening to the stories of having to walk more than how many hours? Some over 10 hours, over 18 hours to the border, and even denied access. And you are hearing gun blast, you are hearing bomb blast, you are hearing gunshots. It's actually traumatic. It threatens their lives, like their life and their existence, and therefore they will have some psychological effect on them. And what the government should do is to make sure that they all have psychological attention. The least they can have is that psychological first aid. Subsequently, they can have counseling, and of course, those who symptoms are severe enough are also meant to be referred to be seen by psychiatrists.
Thank you so much, Dr. Taiwo Obindo is the President, Association of Psychiatrists in Nigeria. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your counsel. We hope that government is listening. We also must thank Genebechi Makole Ebuka, who is the Vice Chairman, Nigerians in Diaspora, NIDO, the chapter in Hungary, Budapest in Hungary. Thank you so much for joining us. Eze Ogidi Lovina Chioma, who is the CEO and legal representative of Ngbemila Agency and Services, also in Hungary. And Egonu Jacinta Uzioma, a student of Poltava State Medical School in Ukraine, who has successfully made it across the border to Hungary. And, of course, Jacob Jahazier. He is a student of Kyiv Medical University. He joined us from Gombe in northeast Nigeria, where he successfully got back into Nigeria last Saturday and is back in the safety and comfort of his home in Gombe State. Thank you so much, Jacob, for joining us. And of course, Tunde Alabi, our correspondent, who is in Warsaw and at this moment heading to the Medica border that's between Ukraine and Poland. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us and for sharing your experiences. And for you, if you are out there, we want to thank you for investing your time with us.